This video was made in collaboration with NARUTOPEDIA. If you'd like to learn more, check out the link in the description. The life of Jiraiya. Jiraiya was one of Konohagakure Sannin. Famed as a hermit and pervert of stupendous ninja skill, Jiraiya traveled the world in search of knowledge that would help his friends, the various novels he wrote, and posthumously the world in its entirety. Knowledge that would be passed down to his godson and final student, Naruto Uzumaki. Welcome to the Amagi. In today's video, we're going over the life of Jiraiya. Before we begin, we publish a new video every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. Background. After he graduated from Konoha's Ninja Academy, Jiraiya was teamed with Orochimaru and Tsunade under the leadership of Hiruzen Sarutobi. Hiruzen gave them a test for the team's first exercise, during which Jiraiya repeatedly fell for Hiruzen's tricks. And for failing to acquire the bell, he was tied to a stump as punishment. Hiruzen encouraged Jiraiya to be more like Orochimaru, but Jiraiya countered that his transparent escape technique was a fair testament to his skills, as he could spy on bathing women without getting caught. Hiruzen offered to accompany him to see if this was true. Jiraiya had a certain interest in Tsunade from their first meeting, and when her, the boobies got bigger, she became a frequent target of his peeping. She nearly killed him when she caught him on one occasion, forcing him to be more discreet about his interests. Jiraiya at some point discovered Mount Myoboku, the residence of the toads. In the anime, he was brought there when he tried to summon a toad without first having a contract with them. Fukasaku trained Jiraiya in their ways, most prominently Senjutsu. While he was at Mount Myoboku, the Great Toad Sage made a prediction about Jiraiya, that he would travel the world and during that time meet the Child of the Prophecy, a student who would grow up to either save or destroy the world depending on how Jiraiya taught them. Although their team under Hiruzen's leadership had disbanded, Jiraiya, Orochimaru, and Tsunade continued fighting together during the Second Shinobi World War. During one such fight in Amagakure, they were the only three to survive an encounter with Hanzo, for which accomplishment Hanzo dubbed them Konoha's legendary Sannin. After the battle, three war orphans approached them and asked to be taught ninjutsu. Jiraiya, guilty for his involvement in the war, decided to stay in Ame for a time in order to look after them. Shortly after he joined them, he discovered that one of the orphans, Nagato, possessed the Rinnegan, once used by the Sage of Six Paths to save the world. Jiraiya decided that Nagato was the Child of the Prophecy, and as such agreed to teach the orphans ninjutsu so that he might guide Nagato towards the world's salvation. Nagato was a kind child, torn between his desire to not hurt others and his wish to protect Yahiko and Konan. Jiraiya comforted Nagato that it was enough to want to protect people one holds to be important, as the world is plagued with seemingly endless conflict. Nagato decided that it was possible to end the constant bloodshed, and, though he didn't know how, that he would someday find the path to peace. Jiraiya was inspired by Nagato's words and started writing what would become the tale of the utterly gutsy shinobi. After 3 years of training the orphans, Jiraiya decided that they were ready to forge out on their own, and he returned to Konoha. He left them a finished copy of Gutsy Shinobi dedicated to Nagato. News of the orphans' deeds would reach him from time to time, but eventually he heard that they'd all died. At some point, Jiraiya was made Jonin and led a genin team of his own. He started to suspect that one of them, Minato Namikaze, might be the Child of Prophecy because of his natural genius. As such, he took Minato as his disciple and taught him many of his skills. Minato would eventually teach Jiraiya the Rasengan. And, unfortunately, Gutsy Shinobi did not sell well when it was released. Eventually, Jiraiya found his writing style when he created the adult novels called Icha Icha. The novels were based on his personal experiences in love, particularly his rejections by Tsunade. Retold in a comical way, the books were wildly popular, giving his checkbook a balance that is filled with zeros. Minato, selected as Konoha's fourth Hokage after Jiraiya refused the position, enjoyed the book. Finding the main character very much like Jiraiya, he decided to name his and Kushina Uzumaki's then unborn son Naruto after the main character, hoping that their Naruto would be just as determined as the character, and thus its author. Jiraiya tried to convince them not to, since that would make him Naruto's godfather, but Minato and Kushina insisted this was a good thing. Minato died during the Nine-Tailed Demon Fox's attack, giving his life to seal the Nine Tails into the newborn Naruto. As one of his last acts, Minato sent Jiraiya Geratora, on whose stomach he wrote the key to Naruto's seal. Jiraiya guessed that Minato wanted him to help Naruto gain control of the Nine Tails' power, though he couldn't guess what that power would be needed for. Although Orochimaru had always been his better, someone that Hiruzen pointed to as an example for Jiraiya to live up to, Jiraiya considered Orochimaru to be one of his closest friends. For this reason, when Orochimaru eventually defected from Konoha, Jiraiya pursued him and tried to convince him to return. Orochimaru refused and attacked Jiraiya in order to secure his escape. For a time, Jiraiya tried to find a deeper meaning in Orochimaru's betrayal, something that, if changed, would bring Orochimaru back. He could ultimately come up with nothing. From that point forward, Jiraiya started following Orochimaru's movements as well as those of Akatsuki, an organization which Orochimaru eventually joined. His investigations often took him away from the village, preventing Jiraiya from becoming 5th Hokage like Hiruzen wanted him to. Chūnin Exams. During an unannounced return to Konoha, Jiraiya visits the Konoha hot springs in order to spy on the women bathing there. He's discovered by Ebisu, who, not realizing who Jiraiya is at first, tries to stop him and reprimand him. Jiraiya uses a toad to knock Ebisu out so that he won't interfere in his research. Unfortunately, Jiraiya is immediately confronted by Naruto Uzumaki, who Ebisu was training to improve his chakra control, and who now, because Ebisu is unconscious, needs somebody else to teach him. Jiraiya refuses to be that somebody until Naruto demonstrates his sexy technique, at which point Jiraiya eagerly agrees. Kinda gross. While watching Naruto struggle with his training, Jiraiya notices two things. Naruto is the Jinchuriki of the Nine Tails. His access to the Nine Tails chakra is being restricted by the 5-element seal, which Jiraiya correctly guesses was placed by Orochimaru. Jiraiya removes the seal, making it easier for Naruto to control his chakra, and offers to start teaching him to use the Nine Tails power the next day. He informs Ebisu of this decision later that night. Ebisu doesn't mind, but asks that Jiraiya meet with the 3rd Hokage so that, together, they can stop whatever Orochimaru is planning against Konoha. Jiraiya is unwilling to get involved. In order to teach Naruto how to take advantage of the Nine Tails' large chakra reserves, Jiraiya teaches Naruto the summoning technique, expecting him to use Nine Tails to summon bigger and bigger toads. Naruto is not only unable to tap into the Nine Tails chakra, but makes poor use of his own chakra, only managing to summon tadpoles. From talking to Naruto about his previous uses of the Nine Tails, Jiraiya gathers that he needs to be in a life or death situation in order to instinctively draw on the Nine Tails. When, after a month, Naruto is still only summoning tadpoles, Jiraiya puts Naruto in a life or death situation. He throws him into a ravine. Jiraiya is impressed when Naruto summons Gamabunta to save him, but decides to return to his research before Gamabunta notices him. Konoha Crush. Orochimaru launches an invasion of Konoha, using snakes to break through the village's defenses and destroy its infrastructure. Jiraiya stops them with summoning food cart destroyer technique, crushing the snakes with Gamahiro. He then seeks out the 3rd Hokage to lend assistance in his fight with Orochimaru, but by the time he arrives, the 3rd is dead and Orochimaru has fled. Jiraiya does not attend the 3rd's funeral a few days later, instead visiting the 3rd training ground and crying over memories of the 3rd. Search for Tsunade. Jiraiya is approached by the Konoha Council, who inform him that, due to the dire straits the village has been left in following the invasion of Konoha, the Land of Fire's daimyo has already approved Jiraiya's selection as 5th Hokage. Jiraiya declines, but offers to find Tsunade to have her take the position, which the counselors agree with. Jiraiya asks to be allowed to take Naruto with him. As he explains it to Naruto's teacher Kakashi, the organization called Akatsuki has been collecting tailed beasts like Naruto's Nine Tails. Jiraiya plans to look over Naruto and further teach him to exploit the Nine Tails' power. He doesn't share any of this with Naruto, who therefore doesn't see much reason to accompany Jiraiya on his search for Tsunade. Jiraiya offers to teach him a jutsu stronger than Sasuke's Chidori, which instantly wins Naruto's interests. After leaving Konoha, Jiraiya and Naruto stop in Shukuba town. While they check into a room to rest in, an attractive woman starts flirting with Jiraiya. Jiraiya sends Naruto to the room while he and the woman spend time together. It quickly occurs to him, however, that women are not usually drawn to him, at which point he realizes the woman is under the influence of a genjutsu so that she could be used to lure Jiraiya away from Naruto. He returns to Naruto and finds him about to be captured by Akatsuki's Itachi Uchiha and Kisame Hoshigaki. Sasuke is also there, wishing to fight Itachi. Itachi and Kisame decide to flee rather than fight Jiraiya, which he tries to stop with his Toadmouth bind, but this fails. Jiraiya collects a sample of the Amaterasu flames that Itachi used to escape and returns to Naruto and Sasuke, at which point he is attacked by Might Guy. Guy apologizes for attacking Jiraiya, explaining that he didn't get a good look because he was trying to avoid Itachi's Sharingan. Jiraiya asks Guy to go back to Konoha with Sasuke, who has been rendered unconscious by Itachi's Sharingan. Guy informs him and Naruto that the same thing happened to Kakashi, and that only Tsunade may be able to cure them. To that end, he asks that they be sure to find her. Afterwards, Jiraiya explains to Naruto why Akatsuki is after him. Naruto decides that he'll need to be stronger so that he can face them next time, which Jiraiya decides to help him with by teaching him the Rasengan. As they travel around the country trying to track Tsunade's location, Jiraiya instructs Naruto in the Rasengan's usage, providing him training aids where needed. Although Naruto relies on some unconventional workarounds and his developments often interrupt Jiraiya's rest, he masters the first 2 of Rasengan's 3 learning steps. Jiraiya and Naruto eventually learn that Tsunade is in Tanzaku quarters. When they arrive at where she's supposed to be, however, she isn't there. What's more, there's evidence that Orochimaru's been there. They find a place to eat to decide what to do next, only to find Tsunade there with her attendant Shizune. Tsunade is surprised to see Jiraiya, having just met Orochimaru, though she refuses to say anything about the nature of their meeting. Jiraiya informs her that Konoha would like her to become the 5th Hokage. Tsunade is surprised, having thought Orochimaru was lying when he said he killed the 3rd Hokage, as is Naruto, who didn't realize Tsunade was being offered the Hokage position. Tsunade refuses the offer, ridiculing those who have been held the title, including the 3rd and 4th Hokage, and dismissing the job as fitting only for fools. Naruto, who has his own dreams of being Hokage, is enraged and tries to attack Tsunade. Jiraiya holds him back, but Tsunade agrees to fight with him. Tsunade easily defeats Naruto, but not before he tries to use his imperfect Rasengan. She berates Jiraiya for teaching Naruto the Rasengan at all, declaring it cruel to let someone as untalented as him believe he can master something so complicated. Naruto makes a bet with her that he can master the Rasengan in a week, and goes off to start training. Jiraiya invites Tsunade to drink afterwards, and guesses that Tsunade's bet with Naruto has something to do with the offer Orochimaru made her. He doesn't ask for details about the offer, but he promises to personally kill her if she does anything to endanger Konoha. She claims not to care about the village, so Jiraiya remarks how similar Naruto is to Tsunade's dead brother, Nawaki, who treasured Konoha. He invites her out to drinks again the night before the bet expires, planning to ask her more about what Orochimaru wants, but she's able to drug his drink without him noticing. When Jiraiya wakes up the next morning, he has difficulty moving and using his chakra. He goes looking for Tsunade, but can only find Naruto and Shizune. He notices Kabuto Yakushi watching them, so asks Shizune what Tsunade's deal with Orochimaru is. Shizune reveals that, in exchange for healing the damage to Orochimaru's arms caused by the 3rd Hokage, Orochimaru will revive Nawaki and also Tsunade's dead lover, Dan Kato. As they try to find Tsunade in order to stop her from helping Orochimaru, Jiraiya worries that he may actually need to follow through on his promise to kill her. When they locate her, however, they find that she's already trying to kill Orochimaru. Jiraiya instructs Shizune to help deal with Kabuto while he fights Orochimaru by himself. He asks Tsunade to give him an antidote for the drug she gave him, but Kabuto has been able to trigger her fear of blood, rendering her unable to do anything. Jiraiya's inability to control his chakra and Orochimaru's inability to use his arms means they can't do much against each other. Jiraiya is able to create a swamp of the underworld, but it's too shallow to defeat Orochimaru's snake, only managing to stop it from moving. Nevertheless, Orochimaru is confident that Jiraiya will lose, proven by his wasting time with Naruto. He contrasts Naruto with Sasuke. Sasuke is an Uchiha, naturally gifted and capable of learning every ninjutsu. Naruto is mediocre, struggling to learn even one ninjutsu and thus failing to live up to the title of shinobi. Jiraiya rebuts, a shinobi is not someone who can learn all ninjutsu, but rather someone who refuses to give up. They watch as Naruto uses a completed Rasengan to defeat Kabuto, which Orochimaru decides is a problem. He goes to kill Naruto, parrying Jiraiya's attempt to stop him. Tsunade is able to protect Naruto and overcomes her phobia so that she can return to the fight. She summons Katsuyu to fight Orochimaru's Manda, with Jiraiya joining in by summoning Gamabunta. After they save Katsuyu from Manda, Jiraiya and Gamabunta attack Manda with Fire Release, Toad Oil Flame Bullet. Manda avoids it and attacks them from behind, but they are saved by Tsunade, who defeats both him and Orochimaru. Orochimaru escapes with Kabuto. Before he leaves, he warns that he has other ways of fixing his arms. Tsunade heals Jiraiya's broken bones, restores his chakra, and, having accepted the Hokage position, returns with him and Naruto to Konoha. Sasuke Recovery Mission. When they get back to Konoha, Jiraiya has Tsunade heal the mental damage done to Sasuke and Kakashi, as well as ask her to look for Rock Lee on behalf of Guy. Naruto goes around the village to visit his friends, with Jiraiya secretly watching him. Naruto gets into a fight with Sasuke shortly after Tsunade heals him, which Kakashi interrupts in time to stop them from using their Chidori and Rasengan against each other. Kakashi notices Jiraiya and asks him if it was a good idea to teach Naruto the Rasengan. Jiraiya asks the same about teaching Sasuke the Chidori. Jiraiya admits to being surprised that Naruto would use the Rasengan against a friend and asks about his relationship with Sasuke. Kakashi explains that Sasuke is a rival that Naruto wants to live up to, just as Jiraiya once did with Orochimaru. Now understanding things, Jiraiya decides to speak with Naruto about it. Sasuke ends up defecting to Orochimaru, and Naruto ends up in Konoha Hospital in his failed attempt to stop him. Jiraiya visits him there and informs Naruto that he's going to take him away from Konoha for 3 years of training. Both Akatsuki and Orochimaru will be unable to move forward with their plans for 3 years, meaning this is the perfect opportunity to prepare Naruto for the next time he faces them. Naruto declines, believing it's essential that he go after Sasuke immediately. Jiraiya tries to convince him to give up on Sasuke, drawing on his own experience with Orochimaru, and pointing to Naruto's contemporary condition as proof that Sasuke no longer considers him a friend. These facts, coupled with the many more important challenges Naruto must face someday, causes Jiraiya to conclude that going after Sasuke would be foolish. Naruto replies simply that he'd rather be a fool. Jiraiya is satisfied by this, and tells Naruto to be ready to go once he's discharged from the hospital. Land of Rice Fields Investigation Mission. In the anime, Jiraiya takes Naruto and Sakura to the Land of Rice Fields to see if they can learn anything about where Orochimaru has Sasuke. They aren't able to locate him, but they're able to free the Fuma clan from Orochimaru's control. When they return to Konoha, Jiraiya asks Tsunade to keep Naruto busy until he returns from some investigations he needs to do, fearing Naruto may go after Sasuke by himself if he isn't kept preoccupied. Sunagakure Support Mission. As happens at the end of the Sasuke recovery mission in the manga, Jiraiya picks up Naruto at Ramen Ichiraku to take him away for 3 years of training. Gutsy Master and Student, The Training. In the anime, shortly after leaving Konoha, they discuss the fact that Naruto will need to learn how to counter Genjutsu if he hopes to be a match against Sasuke the next time they meet. Jiraiya summons Gamariki to help him practice dispelling Genjutsu. But Naruto struggles with it and his chakra keeps hitting Gamaraki, who doesn't appreciate it. Jiraiya takes Naruto to the Genjutsu Tree Village to try a different approach, but they discover the village has been taken over by Kandachi. They free the villagers and then attack Kandachi, who Naruto defeats with his newly created Big Ball Rasengan. As they leave afterwards, Jiraiya is pleased by how similar Naruto is to Minato Namikaze and hugs him, which Naruto is bothered by. In Naruto's footsteps, The Friend's Path. 2 years into their training, Naruto's control of the Nine-Tails chakra has improved significantly. Jiraiya tries to give him more access to the Nine-Tails power and uses Gerutora to weaken Naruto's 8 trigram sealing style. This causes Naruto to enter a version 2 form with 4 tails. Not in control of his body, Naruto attacks Jiraiya and nearly kills him before he manages to suppress the Nine-Tails. Naruto has no memory of what happened and Jiraiya doesn't tell him, instead shifting Naruto's training to other pursuits, including keeping his anger in check so that Nine-Tails won't flare up again. Kazekage Rescue Mission. Jiraiya returns Naruto to Konoha after 2.5 years. Kakashi greets them when they arrive, and Naruto gives him a copy of Icha Icha Tactics, which Jiraiya wrote during their time together. He entrusts Naruto to take Kakashi's care, warning that Akatsuki will likely be making a move soon. He sends the same warning to Sunagakure, whose Kazekage is a Jinchuriki like Naruto. Jiraiya leaves Konoha to start investigating Akatsuki, but returns shortly afterwards to inform Tsunade that the Kazekage has been captured. She already knows this and is about to send Naruto and his team to Suna to lend assistance. He warns Naruto to keep his temper and to not use that technique. He also tells Kakashi to keep an eye on Naruto, giving him a seal that can be used to suppress the Nine-Tails if Naruto starts losing control. Tenchi Bridge Reconnaissance Mission. When the Kazekage is successfully rescued, Jiraiya and Tsunade meet with Kakashi to discuss Naruto's display of the Nine-Tails power during the mission, a sign of his worsening control. Jiraiya explains his own experience with Naruto's version 2 form and his observations about how Naruto's transformations work. Because Naruto can be as much of a risk to himself as he is to others in these states, they task Yamato with keeping him in check. Three Tails' appearance. In the anime, Jiraiya returns to Konoha to congratulate Naruto on defeating Akatsuki's Kakuzu. Because Kakashi is about to take Team 8 on a mission to investigate one of Orochimaru's bases, Jiraiya distracts Naruto from this potential opportunity to find Sasuke by taking him to Yagakure for training. Because Naruto doesn't have any long-range jutsu in his repertoire, Jiraiya recommends that he uses cooperation jutsu, synchronizing with his toad summons to make up for this deficiency. He has Naruto try to perform the water-release water gun with Gamariki, but their personalities clash, preventing them from cooperating. Naruto instead summons Gamatatsu, with whom he's able to synchronize with Gamakichi's guidance. Jiraiya applauds Naruto's progress, but is called away to look into news on Akatsuki before he can see Naruto's training completed. He leaves Naruto to finish the training himself, though before he goes, he convinces Tsunade to let Naruto help on Team 8's mission. Itachi Pursuit Mission. Jiraiya visits Tsunade and reports rumors that Orochimaru has been killed by Sasuke. They share these rumors with Naruto and Sakura, who suspect that Sasuke is making moves against his brother Itachi Uchiha of Akatsuki. Naruto proposes that they try to locate Itachi so that they can, in turn, find Sasuke. An 8-man squad is organized for this purpose, which in the anime Jiraiya and Tsunade see off as they leave Konoha. Tale of Jiraiya the Gallant. While the 8-man squad is still on their mission, Jiraiya visits Tsunade with news that he's discovered the location of Akatsuki's leader, though he refuses to go into more detail until she meets with him for drinks. While having sake, Jiraiya shares news of Amagakure's ongoing civil war, which the Akatsuki leader is rumored to be behind. Because Amagakure is in a delicate political situation, Jiraiya must infiltrate the village by himself to confirm before Konoha can take direct action. Tsunade feels guilty for always relying on him to do dangerous work like this, and offers to help him if he needs it. He reminds her that she, the Hokage, can't just leave the village, but she replies that Naruto will inevitably replace her anyway. While they discuss Naruto, Jiraiya reflects that, because he thought of Minato as a son, being with Naruto feels like being with his grandson. Jiraiya departs, but warns Tsunade about Danzo Shimura before he goes. Jiraiya is able to successfully infiltrate Amagakure, and quickly captures two Amenin, Ryusui and Yudachi. He tries using tickle torture to get them to reveal information about Pain, but it's only after using the turning into frog technique on Yudachi that Ryusui is forthcoming. Pain is the mysterious leader and god figure of Ame, who brought the rebelling faction to victory in the civil war by personally killing Ame's former leader, Hanzo. Jiraiya is unsettled by news that Pain killed Hanzo, having assumed from his own past encounter with Hanzo that he was unbeatable. He takes a precaution by removing Gerutora from his body and instructing him to go to Naruto if anything happens to him. Gerutora warns him against this, feeling Naruto is unprepared for full access to the Nine-Tails' power. Jiraiya shares his suspicions that Madara Uchiha is somehow moving behind the scenes, which, if true, would mean Naruto will need to master the Nine-Tails sooner rather than later. Jiraiya has one of his toads take Yudachi to Konoha to be interrogated by Ibiki Morino, while he controls Ryusui in order to further explore Ame. He is quickly discovered and confronted by Pain's angel, who Jiraiya recognizes as Konan, one of the orphans he trained decades ago. Jiraiya is surprised to see her and guesses that Pain must be one of the orphans, though she refuses to confirm and instead attacks him. He quickly captures her, but Pain rescues her and sends her away. Although Jiraiya doesn't recognize the body, Jiraiya assumes that Pain is Nagato because of his Rinnegan. Jiraiya expresses his disappointment that Nagato has turned away from his once righteous path towards peace by leading a criminal organization like Akatsuki. Pain asserts that, as a god, his plan to liberate the world through destruction is the definition of righteousness. Deciding that he must stop Pain before the world is destroyed, Jiraiya summons Kamaken to fight Pain while he prepares to enter Sage Mode. Pain counters with his various summons and nothing else, which Jiraiya finds odd considering the huge arsenal of ninjutsu Nagato learned during their time together. Despite the constant attacks by Pain's summons, Jiraiya is able to enter Sage Mode with help from Fukusaku and Shima. Both are surprised that Jiraiya would call on him, so he informs them that Pain is the apparent child of the prophecy. They immediately understand, seeking out and destroying the chameleon Pain is hiding in. Pain responds by summoning two more bodies, each with their own Rinnegan and neither of which Jiraiya recognizes. Though confused by this, Jiraiya, Fukusaku, and Shima team up with Sage Art Goemon. One of the Pains, the Preta Path, absorbs their Sage Art Goemon as well as Jiraiya's follow-up Ultra Big Ball Rasengan. But Jiraiya succeeds in blinding another pain, the human path. He tries to attack this blinded pain from behind, but it mysteriously blocks him. Fukusaku notices that one of the other pains saw him attacking the blind one and guesses that they share vision. Outmatched, they decide to retreat so that they can discuss tactics. They decide that their only hope is to split up the pains and fight them one at a time, something they likely won't be able to accomplish without genjutsu. Since Jiraiya isn't good with genjutsu, Fukusaku and Shima ready their toad confrontation singing, which draws the pains to their location. Jiraiya holds them off while the genjutsu is prepared. He obscures the Preta path's sight. He binds the human path to the wall. He attacks the first pain, the animal path, uninhibited until the genjutsu is finally cast. While the pains are caught, Jiraiya stabs them with stone swords and believes they, and by extension Nagato, are dead. As he leaves, Pain's Asura path attacks him from behind, severing his arm. The full 6 paths of Pain, with the 3 he defeated restored by the Naraka path, face Jiraiya. He recognizes the Deva path as Yahiko, causing him to question his assumption that Pain is Nagato. When asked, Pain assures him that Yahiko is dead, then attacks to kill Jiraiya as well. After a prolonged battle, Jiraiya retreats into his barrier Toad Gourd prison. The animal path follows him, but he's able to capture it. From looking at the animal path up close, Jiraiya realizes that he met it once before years ago. Jiraiya, remembering the great Toad Sage's prediction that Jiraiya would travel the world, starts to suspect why he knows the animal path. Fukusaku and Shima recommend he return to Konoha to report what he's discovered, but he refuses, believing this is the best chance to figure out who Pain is. He has Shima deliver the animal path to Konoha, while he and Fukusaku confront Pain again. The other 5 Pains quickly surround Jiraiya when he returns to the battlefield, but he's able to confirm his theory. Each of the Pains is somebody he met during his travels. Before he can communicate this to Fukusaku, his throat is crushed and he's stabbed by the Pain's black receivers. As his life starts to fade, Jiraiya reflects on his failure to win the heart of Tsunade, his failure to redeem Orochimaru, his failure to protect Minato or the 3rd Hokage, and now his failure to have a meaningful death. His thoughts turn to Naruto, who Jiraiya knows wouldn't submit to failure like this, and would keep fighting for as long as he could. Jiraiya decides that he, as Naruto's teacher, should demonstrate the same resolve. As such, he forces himself back to consciousness and uses the last of his energy to etch a coded message into Fukusaku's back. Despite Pain's attempts to stop him, Fukusaku is able to escape to Konoha. Jiraiya, meanwhile, is thrown into the sea by Pain's attack and starts sinking into its depths. Jiraiya spends his final moments continuing to think about Naruto and decides that it is he, not Nagato, who is the child of prophecy. Jiraiya is confident the world is in good hands if Naruto is to be its salvation. Satisfied with how this final chapter of his life turned out, Jiraiya officially ends what he titles The Tale of Jiraiya the Gallant. Before he dies, Jiraiya decides that the sequel should be called The Tale of Naruto Uzumaki, and smiles at how good the title is. Time Slip Arc. In the anime, when a grown-up Sasuke and Naruto's future son Boruto were sent back in time to shortly after Sasuke's defection, the two bumped into Jiraiya and Naruto. Jiraiya handed Boruto his binoculars, framing him for his discovered peeping, but Tsunade arrived and resolved the situation. Tsunade asked about Boruto and Sasuke's arrival, and Sasuke claimed they were traveling performers who utilized ninjutsu during their performances. Still somewhat suspicious, Tsunade ordered Naruto and Jiraiya to guard Boruto and Sasuke, proclaiming that a recently defected genin, as well as Konoha still recovering from an assault during the Chūnin Exams, they needed to remain on guard at all times, and couldn't afford to let strangers walk into their village. However, as soon as Tsunade left, Jiraiya left Naruto to take care of Boruto and Sasuke, much to Naruto's annoyance. Later, while checking out Naruto, he was shocked to see Naruto captured by a new stranger with odd powers, and even more surprised to see Boruto performing a Rasengan on the foe. When the foe retreated with Naruto, he sealed off Jiraiya with Sasuke and Boruto inside a stone prison. Sasuke explained that he and Boruto were really ninja from a distant village on a mission to stop Urashiki from stealing the Nine-Tails chakra. Sasuke also explained that Urashiki had ties to Akatsuki. While realizing the two strangers were still hiding something, he decided to trust them and work together to save Naruto, freeing them by summoning giant toads. Soon, Sasuke locked onto Naruto's location from detecting the tailed beast chakra beginning to leak out. Along the way, having realized that the 8 trigram sealing style was stopping Urashiki from stealing the Nine-Tails chakra, Jiraiya placed powerful seals on Boruto and Sasuke to protect them as well. Upon finding Naruto, Urashiki's actions forced the boy into his version 1 state. While Sasuke engaged Urashiki, Jiraiya went to deal with the rampaging Naruto. He was surprised to see Boruto's kindness initially reaching Naruto, realizing that their chakra was compatible with each other. After subduing the demon chakra in Naruto and Urashiki retreated, Jiraiya suggested training Naruto and Boruto together, knowing the foe would return. The following day, Jiraiya began to explain to the new boys the nature of their training, to synchronize their chakra and create a new cooperation ninjutsu. Pointing out the difficult nature behind such a task, he insisted that their similar chakra would make it possible. As Naruto and Boruto continued to work on the technique, relying on their respective Rasengan training, Jiraiya decided to confirm a suspicion. He later met with adult Sasuke and asked him to deliver food to Naruto while he took care of a task. In reality, he spied on Sasuke to see how he would interact with Naruto. Jiraiya saw the feeling Sasuke had when he was renewing Naruto's conviction, so after Naruto left, he met with Sasuke again, and before Sasuke could leave, Jiraiya asked the traveler if he was Sasuke Uchiha, leaving the time traveler shocked. As Jiraiya dryly laughed off his accusation, he remained firm on his suspicion that he was connected to the rogue Genin. Since Jiraiya could tell that Sasuke and Boruto's desire to protect Naruto was genuine, and that they had their reasons for keeping secrets, he made a deal with Sasuke not to delve deeper into their true identities, provided that Sasuke reveals all he knows about Urashiki. Sasuke then explained all he knew about his abilities. After hearing all this, Jiraiya deemed that the best course of action would be to seal away Urashiki. Before they could formulate a proper plan, however, Sasuke detected Urashiki's return near Naruto and Boruto's location, speeding off with Jiraiya to help Boruto and Naruto. With Sasuke still drained from Urashiki's theft of his chakra, their efforts were easily repelled by Urashiki, resulting in Jiraiya being impaled on the shoulder. Urashiki then smugly told them that he can perceive the future. Deciding the foe's newest technique was too dangerous, Sasuke tackled himself and Urashiki over the ledge and into a river to let his allies escape. While tending to Jiraiya's wounds, the group tried to figure out how to deal with Urashiki. Boruto then realized that in the fight, the blood splattered on Urashiki was drying much faster than Boruto's. After engaging the foe again to test the theory, they concluded that Urashiki's technique lets him warp into the past by several seconds, giving him a pseudo-clairvoyance from his experiences. Urashiki then attacked the Konoha Nin again, where Jiraiya then contained everyone in his summoning Toadmouth bind, during which Naruto unleashed a continued barrage of clones on Urashiki. While he easily countered the assault with his technique, Urashiki inadvertently poisoned himself from the acidic vapors of the Great Toad's belly far sooner than the Konoha Nin due to his repeated time warp. Once Jiraiya released the summoning, Naruto and Boruto then proceeded to knock out Urashiki with a Rasengan assault. Still defiant, Urashiki managed to get up. Battered and too weak to continue fighting as he was, he decided to consume all his accumulated chakra. Concluding that it wasn't enough, he smugly ripped out both his eyes and ate them as well. The final result transformed him into a fiendish being of immense physical might. Jiraiya and the two Genin were quickly overwhelmed by Urashiki's continued assaults, even with the aid of the returning Sasuke. Urashiki's efforts ultimately enraged Naruto enough to unleash the Nine-Tailed chakra. Jiraiya watched in shock as Boruto decided to make use of Naruto's Nine-Tails Rasengan. As Boruto managed to reach Naruto's consciousness, they were able to perfect their new collaboration technique. With the combined efforts of Jiraiya and Sasuke, the two kids were able to plow through Urashiki's final attack and obliterate them. Afterwards, Jiraiya dryly noted how troublesome their apprentices were, which Sasuke agreed. Days later, after everyone recovered from the battle, it was decided by Sasuke and Boruto that they should leave soon, as their mission was done. They were then approached by Sakura, who demanded for Sasuke to reveal how he knew her and what the contents of his letter were about. While Sasuke struggled to answer, Jiraiya gave a convincing alibi that Sasuke and Boruto were in fact such avid fans of his. They studied up on his entire life and wished to train under him, which Boruto and Sasuke awkwardly agreed to. The following day, as Boruto and Sasuke prepared to leave, the Sannin confronted Sasuke about his true identity, feeling it would be best if he and Naruto had no memories of the recent events. Sasuke agreed and proceeded to do so with his Sharingan, which caused Jiraiya to smile as it confirmed his suspicions about Sasuke's identity before his and Naruto's memories were erased. Legacy. Deciphering Jiraiya's dying message becomes Konoha's top priority, though Jiraiya's code isn't recognizable to the Konoha cryptanalysis team. Only Naruto, one of the people closest to Jiraiya, is able to identify the code's key, Icha Icha Tactics. By taking the first word on each page that Jiraiya specifies, they produce the message. the real one isn't among them. Naruto, after defeating all 6 pains, is able to use the information to find and meet with Nagato. It's also only by using Jiraiya's legacy and teachings that Naruto makes Nagato see his own impact on their former teacher. Naruto is extremely depressed when he first learns of Jiraiya's death and tries blaming it on Tsunade since she let him fight Pain alone. It eventually occurs to Naruto that Jiraiya, by fighting Pain, has brought him time for his own fight with Pain. He uses this time to learn Senjutsu, which, in combination with what Fukusaku is able to report about Pain's abilities, allows him to defeat the 6 paths of Pain. When he meets Nagato, Naruto wants to take vengeance for Jiraiya's death, but he decides instead to forgive Nagato, thereby ending the cycle of hatred that the main character of Jiraiya's book, The Tale of the Utterly Gutsy Shinobi, spoke against. Nagato realizes that this same idea that Naruto got from Jiraiya, Jiraiya in turn got from him, and that his actions in Akatsuki therefore contradict both himself and Jiraiya. He gives his life to revive those killed during his attack on Konoha, the only atonement he can offer. Nagato later observes that if Jiraiya's was the first story in a trilogy, and Naruto's will be the last, his own is the better forgotten middle volume. Upon his final sealing in the war, Nagato tells Naruto that he will return to Jiraiya's side, and that they will watch together as Naruto brings the story to a close, referring to Jiraiya's life as a true masterpiece. After observing Naruto's confrontation with Nagato, the Great Toad Sage discovers that his prophecy was somewhat incorrect. Jiraiya wouldn't train the child of the prophecy, he would train the children of the prophecy, Nagato and Naruto, both of whose actions steer the world towards peace because of Jiraiya's influence. Naruto creates a memorial to him in the woods near Konoha after Pain's assault ends. Naruto also leaves a copy of Gutsy Shinobi and Never Dying Flowers of Hope given to him by Konan. In later years, Tsunade would visit the memorial to toast her childhood comrade. Tsunade is just as sad as Naruto when she finds out about Jiraiya's death, and it provides her with yet another reason to keep Konoha safe from Pain, so that his sacrifice isn't wasted. Orochimaru, his death having been misreported, re-emerges during the war with a reformed outlook. Tsunade argues that this change in him might have saved Jiraiya had it happened sooner, but Orochimaru believes it was better for Jiraiya to die, as he was rather than risk his changing because of Orochimaru's change. Naruto mentions that of all the shinobi he has met, Jiraiya is the one he respects the most. Jiraiya's legacy of good even spread to the new generations, which included Boruto Uzumaki. At some point, Amado managed to obtain some of Jiraiya's DNA and cloned him, naming the clone Koji Kashin, whose sole mission was to eliminate Jigen, the vessel of Ishiki Otsutsuki. Naruto found Koji's style to be a great reminder of Jiraiya's, and couldn't help but feel concerned for Koji's safety, despite being unable to discern why. Ishiki, reading Koji's mind upon resurrecting through Jigen, understood that Amado wanted to cling onto the mighty fate that Jiraiya bore, hence his reason to create Koji. Did you enjoy our video? Be sure to check out these other great videos from the Amagi, and make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.